Hello, Internet. I am Insane Lane, and welcome to the morning of day 2 of the Rust trial of Alec Baldwin. We are very late getting started because the court is very late. The attorneys are up at the bench, so they're still doing housekeeping. I'm sure the judge has had absolutely enough of them by this point. Excuse me. They are trying to get underway. I did manage to catch a few of other people's coverage last night very briefly. The consensus seems to be I seem to be in line with the group at the moment in that A, Baldwin needs to stop crossing his arms and he needs to sit up and not look like he is asleep. His defense attorney needs to learn how to stick to a point. There were questions about but nobody mentioned Alec Baldwin repeating question. Nobody really seems to know why he's doing that. Again, this guy's an idiot or a genius. If at the 11th hour or when it turns to the defense's side, he pulls some brilliant rabbit out of the hat and somehow coalesces all of his rambling whatever into a brilliant defense, I will fully eat my words. There's a lot fewer people in the courtroom today. That might just be because it's like day 2 and people, just wanted to be there for the opening. The judge could have made some changes if she was unhappy with the state of the gallery yesterday. I don't recall there being any problems. Like, nobody got kicked out, nobody was shouting. I do think some of the benches have been moved because I think the wife and the brother were not in these individual chairs yesterday, unless it was just too crowded and you couldn't see. It's weird to have like actual chairs in the gallery and not just benches. So I'm not sure what's up with that. And I'm wondering if we're going to see Stephen Baldwin every day of the trial. I kind of suspect so. I certainly think his wife will be there every day. A couple people noted on other streams that they recognized a few of the people further back in the gallery as being well-known true crime YouTube/vloggers. So apparently there were a few of them in attendance. I don't see them today. That may have been, the judge may have found that out and been not too pleased. So we shall see. They're still arguing. Keeping in mind, court started a half hour ago. So if they've been at it for a half hour, like, the judge is going to be fed up before we even start today. Because she, I think, was a bit on, the end of her rope a couple times yesterday. Certainly when they broke for lunch very abruptly, she was just like, okay, we're taking lunch. And as they wrapped early yesterday, she did admonish both sides and tell them to get their exhibits in order. Which is judge speak for, get your head out your butt and start acting like you know what you're doing. Try to sound like a lawyer. His defense keeps wandering into the cornfield and prosecution sounds like a nag. Now he's being a mime. I'm wondering if maybe he wants to do some kind of demonstration or or something, and that's what he was trying to demonstrate, that like, this is what I want to show the jury, this is where I need somebody to stand, etc., etc. Because courts can be very, shall we say, no to any kind of physical demonstration in a courtroom for a lot of reasons, but mostly it's seen as being prejudicial because it's showy, it's flashy, people are going to remember it. They are still waiting to get underway. They are now an official half hour late because they're probably still arguing. Okay, Stephen Baldwin, what is with those glasses? Did you borrow them from Gwyneth Paltrow? And what's with celebrities having really ugly glasses? Also, it's like a meta commentary that Alec Baldwin is physically blocking his younger brother Stephen, just like he blocked his career allegedly. I mean, there were what 4, 5 Baldwin brothers, and I think all of them went into acting. Of course, some of them are going to be more successful than others. Okay, looks like we are finally getting started. Oh, we have whiteboard. Okay, this could get interesting. Yeah, ever tried to draw on one of those or on a chalkboard with people watching? Good luck. You can have practiced. You will still screw it up. Like, that's why one of the things that I admired was if you go back to the early days of the Colbert Show, he used to do chalkboard bits. I wish they would bring it back. I love those. It was a bit that didn't survive, unfortunately. But to draw something complex and be telling a joke while doing it, be actively talking the entire time, is very hard. Still waiting on them to get underway. They're having a very slow morning. Hopefully all the housekeeping is done though. I'm really hoping, and I'm sure the judges too, that at least in the first couple of days they'll get all their arguing over exhibits and order of witnesses and etc. out of the way, and everything will run much smoother after that. If it doesn't, I'm very worried about time. The judge has been very, very, very clear that to each side that like you get X amount of time and you get X amount of time and that is it. There is no extending, there is no asking for another day, there is no asking for 2 more hours. You get what you get, so you better make a good use of it, which yesterday neither side did. Now, granted, they spent the entire afternoon sniping at each other, which resulted in a lot of unnecessary testimony. We are back with the crime scene tech because the judge cut them off after the prosecution's questions. So the defense is due to have its turn this morning, and they apparently are bringing some props. They're They're trying to do a demonstration, and that's what he was doing when he was doing this. He was trying to show where he wanted the whiteboard to be because there are rules, no doubt, about how close to the jury he is allowed to get. It has to be far enough back that the prosecution can see it, the judge can see it. I don't know how as a court reporter, if anybody knows, because I'm curious now, how would you record that he is writing on a whiteboard, or do you not? Do you only record what is being spoken out loud and make no mention of the fact that he's drawing on a whiteboard? I'm kind of curious because if you were then to if you don't mention it, if you only type what he is saying out loud, if somebody then, like 2 years later for an appeal, consults the transcript, they're not going to know that the person was drawing on a whiteboard. And maybe that person drew a big, "This guy is guilty" sign, and that's the basis of your appeal. You would need some proof that they were actually drawing on this whiteboard during the trial. It has to be recorded somehow. Now, in this case, obviously, it's being live streamed to the entire world, so I think that will do. But what if it wasn't? Okay, who is this woman they keep focusing on? I really wish I'd looked, but I did not look to see if anybody said who this is. Hello, Nightwolf. Good to see ya. We are 40 minutes late. I'm officially calling it. This is going to be a running theme. This judge cannot, get back to business on time. And I'm confident saying that Stephen Baldwin is wearing some kind of hearing assist device. And looks like he's upgraded since yesterday. I will say I lived with someone who was severely hearing impaired who had a number of assistive devices. I've never seen whatever he's wearing. I want to look up what kind of hearing aid this is because it's weird. And that's if it is. For all I know, I'm completely wrong, and that's a radio with really weird earbuds. Oh, here we go. All rise for the jury. Hopefully my sound is still working. If we don't have sound yet, I will thumbs up when the sound comes in. If it's not coming through in the chat, please let me know so I can reset right away. Thank you. Keep your tray tables and seat backs in an upright position. Okay, there should be sound. I think she said they're missing a chair or something. Maybe one of the jury chairs. No sound? Okay, let me give it a sec. Okay, it's quiet right now. Give it a sec. Okay, there is legitimately no sound right now. They've turned the mics back off. There we go.
Or whatever. And
Now there's sound.
We're trying to
It
move
should be the
trial
judge
along,
talking.
okay? So, thank you. All right, before, and I'm sorry, I don't, this probably isn't the most appropriate time, but, media and media in the war room or whatever
Oh.
we call it. One more cup and everybody is not allowed to bring any liquids of any kind whatsoever. My staff is, and our county people are not going to be picking up trash that you all could pick up. That
Oh!
also means downstairs in the jury assembly room. So one more cup, one more water. Let's just have some manners on picking up after ourselves.
Oh my God!
Sorry, I had to bring that up right now.
She just had to admonish the media to pick up after yourselves, children!
Here, do you want me to?
My staff are not your maids!
Good morning, investigative
Oh my God! Oh!
All right, why don't we look at these now?
Okay.
Are you keeping track?
Oh, and we have pop-ups where I don't want pop-ups. Why do they always happen at the worst possible times? It's always the ones that make the noise. Okay, we just had 45 minutes of this. What couldn't you sort out? Seriously, we're going to be an hour late starting because they absolutely cannot get their flippin' act together. Like, you'd think they both just caught this case like last week. It's been like 3 years in the making almost. They've had all the time in the world to prepare and compare notes and get on the same page. And yet, both sides seem woefully unprepared. I do think one thing that was demonstrated yesterday, especially with all the sniping and the follow-up to the billion questions for nothing, is that I don't think either side correctly sussed the other side's strategy. I think they were both being caught off guard continually and kind of reacting in the moment. So I think that both sides may be using a different strategy than the other side anticipated. Because you can know what the evidence is, but there's a lot of different ways to apply that evidence, a lot of ways to present it.
Good morning again.
And you can change entirely.
So we saw a lot of pictures yesterday and heard about some search warrants
the facts of a case by order
for.
presentation
and I'd
sometimes.
like to sort of divide what we do this morning into sort of two categories: the firearm.
All right, you came ready.
Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. As to the firearm, I think where you left off yesterday
Maybe
is
he's a
ultimately
morning
that
person.
firearm was destroyed in the testing. Fair?
Not destroyed, but broken.
Yeah, the word
It
broken,
no longer functions as a firearm.
I think I heard you use yesterday.
I think it would be safe to call that destroyed.
The firearm can't be put back in the original condition that it was in at the time of the incident. Is that fair?
Yes.
believe it could be put back together with replaced parts. But as far as in my terms, destroyed meaning no longer in existence is not the case.
Maybe.
Right. No, of course. The gun and its broken parts still exist, right?
Yes.
But as being part of the investigation and entrusted with the evidence in this case, the gun will never be in exactly the same condition that it was in on October 21st. Fair?
Yes.
Then I want to talk to you now about the
Okay, on his
ammunition
whiteboard,
piece
he's
of
got
this.
Starline brass,
And-
nickel primer, and I'm guessing the other one's going to be either dummies or
The
blanks.
investigation into the source of the lethal
Or
bullet in
patine.
this case.
We hear
led
the
you
word
to
patine
executing
30
a
times
search
again.
warrant, at Seth Kenny's prop house, right?
Yes.
And you knew that he had provided Starline brass, silver ammunition to the set, correct?
Yes.
What you were investigating at that time was whether it was Starline brass, silver, and only dummies, or if it was Starline brass, silver, and he also had live ammunition in his prop house, correct?
Yes.
And you did know that Seth Kenny kept live ammunition at his prop house, correct?
I believe at that time we were looking for live ammunition. Yes.
Right. But you were aware of whether you found the exact correct live ammunition that matched perfectly the live ammunition on the movie set. You did ultimately recover some live ammunition, and you had probable cause to get a search warrant, right?
Yes.
And did that concern you that at a prop house that's sending out ammunition for movie sets, that there was both live ammunition and dummy rounds?
Yes.
So I want to take a step back for a second.
I'm curious whether he has
When
Seth
you go
Kenny
out
on
to
the
collect
witness
evidence
list.
on a day like October 21st,
Because
2021.
When he testified in the other
you
trial,
bring with
wow,
you
did he
your-
get off
your
light?
Nikon camera. right?
Nobody went after
Yes.
him. I think this
You
guy
have gloves
will.
with you, right?
Yes.
And in a perfect world, you're trying to get to the evidence and the state of the evidence as quickly as possible. Fair?
Yes.
And so you did respond to this scene, and the first item that you collected that ended up broken was the prop gun, right?
Yes.
And when you got there, you knew that someone had touched it without gloves on, right?
Yes.
You knew that when somebody collected it, they didn't take a photo, right?
Yes.
But you did take that into evidence, and that was sort of the first item in this case that you were collecting and entrusted to keep vouchered and maintained for the course of this investigation. Is that fair?
Yes.
And it was a critical piece of evidence. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And so as you continue after that moment into the scene, you're looking for additional evidence. Fair?
Yes.
And physical evidence is critical evidence in an investigation, right?
Yes.
Because, witnesses and their memories can change. Witnesses can say one thing one day and another day, but physical evidence pretty much stays the same,
I'm
right?
just objecting to a compound question.
Physical evidence
Fair.
stays the same, right?
Yes.
And you logged all the evidence you collected in this case,
Yes.
and all the evidence collected by law enforcement in this case was ultimately logged by you.
Yes.
And by logging it, you also make it available for the defense so that we have visibility into what in fact you collected.
Yes.
Yes.
And one way you figure out as you're going through a scene what evidence is relevant is you can talk to your fellow officers, right?
Yes.
You can talk to witnesses, right?
I do not. As part of I'm not an
He's a
investigator.
crime
I'm a
scene
technician.
tech.
So my concern is with the physical evidence. I don't do any of the interviews.
No, I
Yeah.
know you don't do formal interviews, but in this
No,
case,
she
you did
doesn't talk
Seth
to
Kenny.
witnesses.
You're not forbidden to speak to somebody who's at a scene.
No, I do believe we had some casual conversations. Yes.
Well, but there
We
are
said
times
hello.
where a witness could say in your presence, "Hey, that glove is very important."
What are you implying?
And they would say it to you and Corporal Hancock, and you
I
would know.
object to the hypothetical.
Do you have
well,
someone to testify that Seth Kenny told her
As I
something
was
important?
saying, you and Corporal Hancock could be at a scene, and somebody could say, "Hey,
It
that
seems
glove
like
was
he wants
used."
Her to
And
say,
you,
"Oh,
as
by
the
the way,
technician,
Seth
would
Kenny
say,
told
"Okay,
me."
that witness is pointing out that glove. That could be important. I'm going to note that, and once I confirm with Corporal Hancock.
And
that
this
next
guy
week
is
we'll
a
get to
genius or an idiot, and I'm not sure which.
Yes, that's something that could happen, yes.
And the other thing that you do is, and you talked about this a little bit on your direct, which is you can learn information, decide what to forensically test. Fair?
Yes,
So in this case, for example, Mr. Baldwin's clothes had red on them, and you tested it for blood, right?
yes,
And it turned out it was movie set blood, right?
yes,
Meaning it wasn't actually blood. right?
correct.
Okay. So as you continue through the scene, you get to the prop cart, and you find the shell casing. And I thought this was on just a moment ago.
All right, Joe, come on.
Tech support.
Yeah,
Imagine having that job, courtroom tech guy. I mean, it would be interesting. It'd probably be boring a lot of the time. But I imagine he's not usually in the room. He is for this because it's high profile and there's a lot of technology being used, so he's going to be needed. Okay, so we've got Starline, Brass, Nickel Primer, and Live. And then he just wrote
It was up there.
something.
It was up there that you had a problem.
Scene. Okay, dude needs to work on his penmanship.
I'm just, Mr. Spyro, I'm wondering if,
Oh.
you're trying to figure this out right now.
Because I think what he's trying to do here, I'm guessing, is he's going to try and heavily imply, if not outright say, as much as he can, that the live rounds came from Seth Kenny, because there were live rounds found in a box that was labeled dummies, and he's, of course, claiming that he had no live ammo at his shop. Maybe this guy has proof that he did. There was evidence of reloading equipment because dummies, as we heard, are often reloaded. They're used over and over because it's just a brass casing, basically. That's the important part. And so if you're making blanks that go pop with little clay bullets in them, or, you know, whatever they're using.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we've got scene, truck.
Um,
You can reload
and I'm
those.
showing you Exhibit 29. And,
And
in a
we
moment
know
I'll
that
show
there
you
was,
Exhibit 28.
they went on and on about there
And
being a
this
shortage
is
of, like, I think
the
it was
shell
the 45
casing
long
that
Colt
you
dummies. I guess they're
recovered in
rare.
this case, that housed the lethal projectile. Correct?
It's not too hot today, which
And
is nice
so-
because I have to go out this afternoon.
And in fact, you were able to then recover. the
I have
actual
a
bullet
plan
piece
to
of
keep
the
this going
ammunition,
while I'm out because I'll only
because
be
you
out
learned from
briefly.
Mr. Baldwin that it was at
Basically
the
hoping
hospital
YouTube
it was
doesn't
defeated,
notice, but we'll see.
right?
And it depends on when the court takes
And
lunch.
so
The
you
court
were then
could be
able
on
to go
lunch
to
when I
the
have to run, so
hospital,
if it is, I'll
and we
catch
heard
up
from
as
that
soon as I get
officer
back.
and collect the other piece of the ammunition, correct?
Yes,
And that's an example, right, of learning something from a witness and making a decision based on it, right?
yes,
Okay. And as to the prop gun, because you learned from Mr. Baldwin that he just manipulated the hammer, you didn't test the trigger of the firearm, correct?
I'm sorry, you're asking if I myself tested the,
Trigger, yeah.
I'm not qualified to do that, so it was not completed by myself.
Well, fair to say that because you learned that from Mr. Baldwin, it impacted the way that you evaluated the evidence in
I
this case.
object to the form of question. Can we approve?
Yeah, there you go. You're asking her to admit that she had like preconceived notions or bias or something? How dare you, sir? Also, is it just me or does he seem to like to ask questions of not the most appropriate person to ask that question? And I get it, it's a bit of a gotcha strategy because he wants to make it look like these witnesses don't know what they're talking about if they're forced to say, I don't know, or I know I didn't do that over and over to try and make them look incompetent. It's risky because it's going to get old real fast.
You spoke to Mr. Baldwin at the scene, correct?
Briefly, yes.
Okay. And he informed you that he just manipulated the hammer, and that impacted your future testing, correct?
I don't recall what he exactly stated on the scene.
Okay. Well, let me just approach you for a moment.
Counsel, I'll need a copy.
We'll provide you.
I will say this guy's definitely he's got things that he wants certain witnesses to say, and he doesn't mind taking his time to get there. Okay, I'm really hoping all this approaching in sidebars is just the first couple of days while they, iron the kinks out and then get into a nice flow for the rest of the trial. Otherwise, it's going to be really annoying. But in fair play, the other trial, the Gutierrez Reed trial, there were a billion sidebars as well. That is equally true because they were arguing just as much with her defense team as well. But that is what you get in a hyper-technical trial. Yes, as we said yesterday, this is a technical trial. This is a crime of technical issues. This is a crime crime. I'm awake. I have not had coffee yet. That is what I forgot to do this morning. Was make coffee. So we have, again, this is a very technical trial. It's about the facts. It's about just literally facts. But then, as with everything, it becomes a question of interpreting those facts. And that's what the trial is for. It's to, how do all these facts fit together? Who was responsible? Who did know what? Who should have known what? Who should have done what? The jury could very easily, be told, oh, the armorer who loaded the live round and who failed to check the gun properly is already in jail. They could easily conclude, well, then that's enough. She's responsible. Alec Baldwin is an innocent bystander. He got handed a deadly weapon and told that it was safe. He's not responsible. That could easily be the jury's conclusion.
And I'm showing the witness. Does this, and as you can see from up here, this is a lapel camera from 1021, a lapel recording from. And you see this answer here?
Okay, was she caught on a body cam saying something?
Yes, I see it.
And so, does that refresh your recollection that Mr. Baldwin told you that he cocked the gun?
I don't recall that conversation.
Okay. But you don't dispute that it happened?
No, I don't dispute it. I just don't recall it.
Okay, so I guess he said it in her
so
presence.
Did
And so he's trying to say that influenced her testing of the gun?
but when you made the request,
Objection, let's approach.
Yeah, there we go. I think I don't know. I'm grasping here because he keeps getting cut off. But is he trying to get her to a place where it sounds like she ordered the FBI to do the hammer test on the hammer of the gun that ultimately destroyed it? And yes, I will use the word destroyed because it can, the defense is right. It cannot be put back into the state that it was in on the day. That is gone. Yes, you could put replacement parts and turn it into a working gun again, but it will not be the same. So defense is right. The gun as it was has been destroyed. And they did not get the opportunity to do their own testing or to even inspect it, which I do think is wrong. Now, as I said, if the FBI wanted to do that test that they knew might break the gun, they should have gotten permission from the defense first. They should have not done the test. They should have given the defense the chance to have it examined by their experts first, or to waive their right to do so, and then destroyed it. Now, you can equally say that they were doing the tests within, well, actually, we heard it took 6 months to a year to get the results back. So, no, there was plenty of time. I rescind my former statement. There was plenty of time, and charges had been filed by that point. So they knew there was a defense to contact. So yeah. Yes, you absolutely do. I fully agree that he should have checked it himself, but I also am aware of multiple people saying like that's not how actors were trained back in the day. They were trained the exact opposite, that you never open the gun or manipulate the gun in any way. Now, I'm not saying that's true for Baldwin. I don't know. But I'm saying I've heard other actors say it, and they're all of a certain age. Again, yes, he should have checked it. He should have. But there is a lot of should have on this set. There's a lot of should have with this entire production. They should have hired somebody more competent from the beginning, and then we never get here. They should have shut down the set after the first accidental discharge. They should have shut down the set when pyrotechnics went off unexpectedly. They should have shut down the set when the second accidental discharge happened. They should have shut down the set when half the crew walked over many things, but including safety concerns. Though apparently working conditions and the distance of their hotel was also a big issue. Because they're not required to put everyone up like so close. And the crew had like over an hour drive to and from their hotel, and that's on top of like a 16-hour day. And so people were just fried, and they were saying it was too much. They wanted to be housed closer to the set. But production couldn't afford that. But as we also saw, there are emails from armorers they tried to hire before settling on Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, who told them they didn't have the budget to
Just
do
to
this
go back
properly.
to the spent shell casing for a moment. Was the spent shell casing collected from inside of the church or on the cart?
On the cart.
And another question is, do you know if Mr. Baldwin's fingerprints or DNA were on the trigger of the firearm?
I do not know those results off the top of my head.
Is there a better witness that may come in to tell the jury that?
Yes.
Okay. And you were interacting as we were left off with Mr. Baldwin at the scene and spoke to him, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And after speaking to him, did you in fact test the hammer did you in fact request to test the hammer of the firearm for prints and DNA?
Same objection. That doesn't lay the foundation. It has to go to why she did what she did.
It's the first question, and then I'll ask why she did or didn't.
Overruled.
Did you, after speaking to Mr. Baldwin,
Okay, they're really
did you
sniping over
then
this.
test the hammer of the gun for DNA or fingerprints, or request that it be done?
The request that was made was after a conversation with the lab, which essentially was asking them what assistance they could provide. I believe the request was made for latents and DNA. I don't recall the specifics of what on the item they were going to specifically test. I don't know their requirements or standards when they receive a firearm. Most labs would do the testing on the entirety of the gun, but they might break it down further and do just the trigger, just the hammer, just the rough areas. I'm not certain. That's a question for their lab.
Right, but I'm just asking you, Investigator Papa. When
And
you
she's
made
saying
the
she doesn't
request,
know.
Did you specify, given what we've learned now, we really want you to check the hammer specifically? Did you make that request?
I don't recall specifically requesting it.
And when you got to the prop cart, you could not tell from looking at it whether or not anybody had altered or moved any of the evidence, correct?
Correct.
And if somebody did, that would be a pretty serious problem in a case like this, wouldn't it?
It would be a problem in any case, yes.
Did you ever interview or review any interviews of Sarah Zachary?
No.
Again,
But one
she's
thing
a
that you
crime
did
scene
know at
tech.
this time, for certain, is that you were looking for Starline Brass.
Like,
Silver
again, he's
45
asking
ammunition,
questions that
At that time, no, we did not know. that
she
that's
is
what we were
not-
looking for.
like qualified
learn
to
that?
answer.
That was learned later on once realizing that all of our suspected live rounds were Starline brass with a silver primer.
So all of the live rounds at the movie set were Starline Brass, nickel primer, live, right?
Yes.
And this idea came up early in the investigation that what if somebody sabotaged the set and put those live rounds there? Do you recall that?
Yes.
And that was quickly dismissed in this case as not something that law enforcement thought to be realistic. Fair?
Yes.
But you
Yes,
also
I remember
needed to
those
investigate whether somebody
conspiracy theories
from
as well.
outside of the Rust set was responsible for injecting these live ammunition into the Rust set. Fair?
There were initially quite a
Um,
few conspiracy theories about this case.
And so you continue to investigate
Most
that.
of them have fallen away now.
Um,
There's still a few
as this
hardcore ones
case
that
proceeds
refuse
and
to
you execute
die.
search warrants, correct?
Not myself personally investigating it, but I believe that was something that was being investigated.
So, we looked at, and I'm just going to show you Defense A1. And what's this a picture of?
These were some of the rounds that were located loose on top of the cart.
And these live rounds being loose on top of the cart, I mean, you don't know whether those live rounds were there at the time of the incident, right?
Correct.
And again, these were all Starline Brass, nickel primer, live, correct?
Yes.
And you were also not certain at times when you would collect rounds, whether or not they were live or dummies.
Correct.
Some rounds you submitted to the FBI to process to figure that out.
Yes.
And if we could look at State's Exhibit 27,
Yes, and the FBI
can you
took
tell
no
me
part.
what that is?
This is a photograph of the silver primers on the 2 rounds that were later discovered to be live that were on top of the cart.
And so in this box, you then
Okay, I'm
collected
informed that the woman sitting next to Stephen Baldwin with the glasses on her head
Right, what was your
is
understanding of
their
this box?
sister Beth.
My understanding was this was the box handed to Lieutenant Benavidez that was being pulled from at the time to load the firearm. It was then placed in his unit and later collected by myself.
Didn't
And
know
when
they
you
had a
looked inside
sister.
of that box, State's Exhibit 17. What did you find?
These were the rounds inside of the box.
And can you tell the jury the significance of that round?
Yes, this round with the silver primer was a live round.
But you don't know whether somebody was rifling through this box and just missed one, do you?
No.
And you also showed the jury that these Starline Brass nickel live rounds were found in other places on the set, right? This is State's Exhibit 16.
Yes.
And what is this?
This is a close-up of one of the gun holsters that has a live round in it.
Okay. And State's Exhibit 15.
Yeah, I think they found a total of
This is a
12 or 15
close-up
live
of
rounds
the gun
on the
holster,
set, which is
that
just
was belonging to Mr.
utterly
Baldwin that has a
ridiculous.
live round in it.
And was then 15 was this is 15. Was 16 the one that was the other actor, Jason Eccles?
Yes.
You just call him Jason.
Okay. And so Mr.
Jensen.
Eccles, another actor on the set, turns out that he, as he acted, as he performed, had a live bullet in his bandolier, correct?
Yes.
And you have no reason to think Mr. Eccles had any idea that was there, right?
Correct.
Yeah, he had live rounds in his bandolier, which I'm sure keeps him up at night.
Your working theory.
He did seem
that
very
you
affected by it. I
evaluated
know
the
he's talked
ammunition,
about it at
and
cons
looked
and
at
stuff
the
because he gets asked, of
similarity
course.
between the Starline nickel live and the Starline nickel dummies is that they could have been easily commingled. Fair?
Yes.
In other words, somebody could have mistaken one for the other, right?
Yes.
And so when you conduct then a search warrant on the church, you find additional evidence, right?
Yes.
And you talked about search warrants in your direct examination, but I just want to orient the jury a little bit to what that is. A search warrant is where you go to a court and you swear out a warrant, and the warrant tells you what you can search for inside of a dwelling or a location, right?
Yes.
And you tell the court what information you have and what you'd like to look for. Fair enough?
Yes.
And unlike somebody sort of, walking into the precinct and voluntarily giving you evidence, one of the things about a search warrant is you don't have to tell the person you're coming before you go, right?
Yes.
So as you're going into execute the search warrant on the church, and the warrants in this case, you did discuss that with Corporal Hancock, correct?
Yes, I believe we had some brief conversations about the search warrants.
And the warrant for the church, it didn't indicate that there was any specific crime you were looking for. Is that fair?
I don't recall.
And so when you went inside of the church, you were looking for evidence, right?
Yes.
And you remember, as you ended your direct examination yesterday, Ms. Morrissey, the prosecutor, said, you keep all of this evidence so that if anybody wants to bring any evidence, you have it, right?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the things you found in the church was the shot list for the dead, right?
I don't recall that.
Do you recall collecting paperwork inside the church?
Yes.
Okay. And
Your Honor, I've already indicated to Mr. Spiro that I object to some of these, so we can approach now. I wish we had dealt with it previously.
Why didn't you? Again, the judge specifically told them yesterday as they were leaving.
no, I think I can just lay it and introduce them.
Well, she said she objected.
I'm sorry, did he just try and pull that stunt again of arguing an objection from the middle of the room? Dude, the judge says approach, you approach. See, it's things like that that make me think he's an idiot, not a genius. And that it's inexperience and not, putting on a show. Because you don't disrespect the judge. Whatever you do, you can be flashy and obnoxious and act like a cartoon character / idiot if you want, if you're secretly brilliant. But you don't antagonize the judge. Because that's not going to work out well for you. In any universe, even if you win. Yeah. No, little puppy bitch, I'm sleepy. See, the problem with the trial being like 2 hours behind where I am is I'm starving for lunch right now. By the time they go to lunch, I'm going to be scrambling. Well, I don't have to scramble too much. I'm showered, I'm dressed, I got to put my hair up, and I got to throw like 2 more things in my purse. But other than that, I should be good. Oh, I should plug my phone in so it's... I always like my phone fully charged when I go out. Not that I'm going to be gone more than like... I'm hoping I'm only going to be gone like a half hour because I don't want to get that far behind. Given the breaks they take, I'm sure we'll be caught up. And the fact that I can skip the sidebars when I get back. Then I'll catch it up right there. Yeah, but I'm hoping that I will only be gone like 30 minutes at the absolute most. And I am dealing with a government office. I have to replace one of my IDs, so that's what I'm going to do. I do have an appointment. I'm hoping that helps. I have no idea. I did actually make an appointment. I have a set time. I'm not just walking. Again, whether this matters, I don't know. I'm hoping that the Thursday afternoon is going to be relatively quiet. Oh, okay. Yeah, Stephen, I think we can confirm has hearing issues. Okay, so those are like the kind the court gives out. Yeah, because he was doing this all day, like yesterday, like he had some kind of a hearing aid. Maybe the kind that he had is not allowed or something. But yeah, those are like the kind that the court gives out. I've never seen them, but. And hello to Persnickety! Congratulations on your own, trials and tribulations this morning. Hug the puppy for us, rub the belly. Did she get puppy ice cream to celebrate? Hey, anybody else watching The Mole season 2 on Netflix? I'm officially up to date. The last 2 episodes drop tomorrow. So I'll have that okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Cuz I was like, these are the most awkward like looking things ever. They're huge for one, and they're so like noticeable, and like if Stephen Baldwin had ever been photographed with those, somebody or seen in public with those, somebody would have photographed it. So, yeah, it makes sense that it's something that the courts hand out. Which is why it's awkward. No pup cup. No. But I'm sure she was pleased to hear it. Especially because it means Mommy will be getting her money back and then can use it to buy her all the treats and toys in the world. You know, because she needs more toys to show off to people. No, pretty sure her first priority is going to be the rabbits, though. You know, she's got to let them know she's back in fighting form. Okay, the entire morning is sidebars. I feel like I need music and a dancing clown to throw up on the screen when this goes on forever. Oh, I definitely need coffee. Oh, they may have finally decided something. That was a lengthy argument, and given that they basically argued the same objection like 4 times, what is he trying to say? Like, I feel like
Please
this
don't
guy
talk
is.
among yourselves or anyone else about the evidence received here in court.
Wait, we're taking a break? What just happened? I didn't hear her like say we were taking a break or what. Like, usually she only gives that instruction at the end of the day. We did not just adjourn for the day, did we? Oh, okay, no, the jury's coming back in, I think. I don't know who she was talking to. Okay, she like freaked me out there for a second. Wait, are we? No, people are leaving. No, we are taking a break. What the hell is going on? Okay, seriously, what is going on? Are we on a break? Are we done for the day? What happened? Because, yeah, she usually only gives that instruction at the end of the day. And so the jury was being led out, not in. Duh. Like I said, I haven't had any coffee. But I'm gonna run this back and see if we can determine what the F. All right, while I'm doing that, I'm going to pull up a different feed to see if they are saying anything different. Okay, different feed is saying they are just on a break.
Please don't talk among yourselves or anyone else about the evidence received here in court.
Okay, let me see if I can find out how long. Okay, nobody officially heard it, but everyone is saying 15-minute break. It's too early for lunch because it's only 10 o'clock there. It's 10 to 10 there. So they're not going to go for lunch. Okay, yeah, she did say recess. I just didn't hear it. Okay, so we've got about 15 minutes to kill, which in this court definitely means like 25. Man, everybody is carrying this live. It's insane. Spent like 3 hours last night catching up on all the YouTube videos that I missed during the day. There weren't that many. Tempted to throw on some body cam bids, but I don't want to argue with people. Okay, now you say they're on a short break, huh? Now you want to be like telling us what's going on Court TV, huh? Okay, so far this morning. Oh, officially, is he live and like I'm trying to politely. I'm gonna say stroking his ego. Because he's gonna be crowing for the rest of his life about getting his conviction overturned. Now, granted, two things are true. If he'd had decent representation in the first place, he probably never would have gone to jail for 4 months. And two, if he hadn't melded up and been such a complete tool and utter dickwad in court, we might have noticed that he had an actual defense possible. Oh, yeah. Well, especially if like even half the rumors about steroids are true, that'll do it. Yep, absolutely. He's going to be 10 times worse. Like this, here's the thing though. He's going to be so arrogant and so hyped up on his own ego that this is where he really could cross an actual line. Like I could see him getting into an actual fight with an officer at this point. In which case he's not walking away that time. But he is going to be an absolute menace until something like that happens. He's going to be like way more in the cop's space. He's going to say probably a lot nastier things. He's going to get closer. I know who Shelley Duvall is. She died. Yeah, I do mostly know her just from The Shining. She also played Olive Oil in a like 50s Popeye movie. I know I know some actresses just there's a time limit to actresses that I know. Oh. Okay, I really got to do something about some kind of snacky situation. I really don't want to turn my oven on because that'll heat it up too much in here, and it's actually like nice and tolerable right now. It's not too hot right now. It's only like 22. I'm hoping when I go out it's just as good, though I am going out at the worst possible time. But since it is a government office, it should be air conditioned. Or at least I'm hoping. How have I like chopped up my hand? You have like little slashy marks. What did I do? Oh, Kitty's on his box early this morning. Maybe because it's cooler, he didn't need to stay in the bedroom to cool down. Plus, he really, really wants to prove that he fits on this box. He's never going to. He has been, like, flattening it out more and more. And so far, the puppy hasn't peed on it. So I think that, I think they came to an arrangement after their 3 days of war. Because it was, like, all out open warfare. They were just constantly attacking each other and wrestling and trying to kill each other and being little brats. Like, didn't matter. Morning, noon, or night. Didn't matter if I was watching. Didn't matter if I yelled at them. No, they were going to fight. Because you ruined my spot. Well, you were taking my attention from mommy. So, I was not witness to the final confrontation. I don't know which side won or lost or what terms of and arrangements were made. Ooh, you got it bad today. Yeah, we've had a few of those days. I'm going to take 2 seconds and raid my fridge. I'll be right back. I will be back before the court is, I promise. And we're back. The court is still not. They are officially over 15 minutes. So, no surprise there. I'm hoping that they're in a back room somewhere sorting out all their trash because seriously, they haven't. I don't think there's been 5 questions this morning, and we're already. The court has supposedly been in session for an hour and a half. No more than that. Wait, I can math. No, I can't. I'm tired. Yeah, no, hour and a half is right. And so for 90 minutes, and we've literally not gotten through 5 questions. They're never going to make their timelines like this. I mean, maybe that's part of the defense strategy, to just go really slow on everything, and then when the judge like denies you more time, that's like the basis for an appeal or something. I don't know. But like this is not good. They need to step it up big. Like, the judge was very strict on time at the other trial as well. She made a huge point of it to both sides. That, like, you get what you get. So, hopefully they know what they're doing. I'm hoping there's some kind of a strategy. Again, they've had so much time to prepare for this, and yet neither side is looking exceptionally prepared. Now, again, there could be a lot of reasons for this. They could have misjudged the other side's strategy. They could have, I don't know, just had an off day. Oh. I miss when I had a super tall. I used to have a super high back chair that I could actually put my head back on. Oh, I love that thing. I regret getting rid of it, but it was completely broken and falling apart. I'd had it for a very long time. But I miss it. But for some reason, chairs with like a super tall back are super expensive and also just really hard to find. One thing I absolutely like, probably as much as shopping for clothes. I hate shopping for a desk chair. They're all just so overpriced. And usually not worth it because they're all essentially the same. Okay, we are continuing with the not so short break of the court. We've now been gone for about 20 minutes. Hopefully the judge is getting a coffee. I'm trying to think if there's anything else of interest yesterday. I don't think so. Yesterday was a pretty slow day. It was all just technical. It was establishing the crime, the jurisdiction, of course. And then we had the deputy who didn't seem to know anything and didn't put Baldwin in the car. Then we had his boss who knew what he was talking about. At least had that. And they're just taking their sweet time today. I am kind of surprised the judge has already had enough of these two, so early in the day, because it's early for morning break for them. I would have expected about a half hour from now we would be taking morning break. But I think she may have wanted to give them a chance to, again, confer over their exhibits and, get on the same page so they stop objecting every 2 seconds to what the other one is trying to do, which is, that's how trials drag on. That's how they drag on and on is all of this. But again, she did tell him, she told him yesterday, get your houses in order. They apparently didn't listen. So, how's your day going, everybody? Are you keeping busy with while we wait on this? Because this is really too much at this point. So go for hamburgers right now. Again, don't want to turn the oven on. Heats up the whole place for way too long. Did anyone else listen to the Mean Kitty song this morning? It popped up in the music videos section of my Discord. Yes, I did listen to it. I remember when it first took over the internet. It's very, very old. It might be 20 years old. It was one of the first viral bits. It's still good though. It's still a good song. Still very cute little kitty. And still very appropriate to the ways of kittiness. Because Artie's finding out with Void Kitty attacking his feet all the time. They just want to play, really. They just forget that they have claws and teeth and don't bite the person who feeds you. That's a lot to remember when they think it's a mouse under the covers. Which, yes, that's what they think your feet are. When they see something moving under the covers, their brain just goes, mouse, mine, pounce. You're expected to be proud of them for those skills. Because they're showing you they have value. Look what I can do. You should keep me around because I can catch mice. Also, you should feed me. So I'll be fat and don't care about catching mice. But you're not supposed to know that last part. Okay, Court TV, you need to update your banner. They are not on a short break when it's been almost half an hour. Oh, here we go. I'm just adding 10 minutes to every break from now on. There's no other option. They're never back on time. Ever. There's no sound yet. Everyone's still coming in. Having a coffee shop in a courthouse must be like a dream. You'd have so much business constantly, because, if ever you need a flippin' coffee. And they're still arguing over something. Dear God. This is not a good example of how to conduct a trial. It really isn't. Generally, both sides have agreed to all of the exhibits and the order of witnesses, and they won't give away their strategies, of course, but there is a general consensus of how things are going to go. These two sides, again, they're both acting like they just got this case last week. They've never met each other. They've never had a conversation. They didn't spend an entire day arguing motions against each other, which that'll give you that generally will give you some clue as to what the other side is planning when you see what motions they make, because that tells you what's important to them. If they're trying to get some evidence excluded, always try to get evidence excluded if you can. It can't hurt. But if they're really going after something specific, then that's important to them. That's going to like be forming some part of their strategy, so pay attention. Okay, they seem to be arguing over specific pictures on whether, I don't know if it's whether they can be shown or what he is wanting to say that they show. Maybe the prosecution is saying no, it doesn't show that. He's not allowed to say that. I'm not sure. But this has to be one of the longest like sidebars in the history of ever. Because again, they've objected like 4 or 5 times on this same line of questioning / whatever evidence he is trying to show the witness. So we'll see how it goes. But he's not doing any better today at asking a question than he was yesterday. And prosecution's definitely on his butt about asking questions in a proper format, which is important. Like, you're not allowed to lead a witness. You're not allowed to ask compound questions. You're not allowed to testify yourself and then ask someone to respond to you, basically. There's a lot of don'ts. Oh, she's calling in reinforcements. At this rate, we'll get to actual lunch. They'll still be arguing. Why is that one of the court? I'm assuming the guy wearing the body cam is one of the court officers. So I was gonna say, like, why is a cop who's like testifying wearing a body cam? I'm guessing he's a court officer and that's why he's wearing a body cam. I noticed I never see the wife talking to Stephen Baldwin or the sister. I don't think I've seen her talk to them. And they're not even sitting in the same row. Like, do they not like her or something? I mean, just from the few clips of her I've seen, she's not the most likable people. Kitty kitty. Okay, well, at least somebody's smiling, so it's not going too badly. The defense has wandered. Like, what could they possibly be arguing for this long? More stuff being retrieved. Camera just gonna keep staring at Baldwin. Judge's like, go away. Stop talking. I need to think about something. Stop talking. Oh, she's had enough of them. Oh, are they finally going back and sitting down? I'd almost forgotten what that looks like. Nope. Who are these two? I don't think we've seen them before. They're still arguing. Like, really, what could be so flippin' complex that is taking this long? They're definitely arguing over pictures of some kind. So there's only a limited number of things it could be. Either that these are exhibits that have not been entered that one side objects to being entered. They're accused of being altered in some way. The defense would like to say that they show something which the prosecution says they do not show. Or there is some other reason that they couldn't be shown, like they're too graphic or something. Which, from what I have seen, because neither side knows how to cover their papers, they're the pictures of the bullets on a tray and in the bandoliers. So I'm not sure exactly what they are like objecting to here. But they are making a heyday out of it, that's for sure. Oh, now we're gonna super focus on the wife because she was crying, it looks like. Oh, and I'm starting to hear construction noise, which I really hope doesn't get too out of hand. It's been quiet for like a week, which is really nice. It's nice to be able to think. I actually got a decent amount of writing done last night. I was so happy. Yeah, like an entire page written, which for me in one day is a lot. Like half a page a day is usually the aim. So to get an entire page and to make actual progress when I've been kind of stuck for a couple of days, mostly because I was planning out the rest of the part, which I have more notes for this. That's what it is. I have more notes for this part than any other. It's very pivotal. It's huge. There's again a lot to have to put in, and I have to do it correctly. And some of it's hard for me. Some of it's this is writing hard. This is topics that are difficult. And I want to phrase them just right for my story, but I also want to, be respectful and readable for people reading it. So it's tricky. And I'm somebody who's very nitpicky about words. When I'm writing, I can hyperfixate on like one word, which is it's not good. You shouldn't do this, but I do. And, I just I get fixated on just finding the exact right word or it has to be just right. It has to sound just right, or it has to sound like the character. I really do need to do a character refresh though, because I haven't watched any Hannibal in a while. At least watch the blooper reel a couple of times, or some like classic scenes. Just keep the voice fresh in my head. Because I've caught myself a few times having to kind of correct my tone. Okay, I don't think they could be taking longer with this if they tried. Sorry there's not more going on, everybody, but I can't make the judge rule on whatever is taking so long. Like, for real. Like, we're getting into ridiculous length time territory at this point. I mean, they've been back for like almost 15 minutes and still arguing. And they argued this before. Okay, can everybody go sit down and get on with it already? Like, I really cannot imagine what could possibly be this important or this impactful with this witness. Again, there are other witnesses. I could see them having a lot more to argue about. Oh, are they finally sitting down? Are they finally shutting up? Oh, we have sound. Here we go. Let's see how long. Will they get through 3 whole questions? Answer probably not. Okay, I thought we were ready to get started, and yet we're still waiting. Like, I'm gonna have to go out before they get to a flippin' question. Okay, jury's coming in, so we are actually starting. Okay, that just took 45 minutes. Including the break, that was 45 minutes.
Maybe seated.
Good morning. Okay. Good morning again. So I'm just going to have that is yours. Okay. We left off.
I'm just telling him he's gonna publish it.
Right.
Well, you have to move for admission.
Okay. So I'm now moving for admission for A3 and A11.
I'm sorry, did he just have to be reminded that he must enter his exhibits and get permission to publish?
For the foundation. As you stated on direct, and we're just going to put up states 21. If I can publish that, it's an evidence. As you testified yesterday, you collected items from the church that you thought were relevant to this case, correct?
Yes.
And some of the things that you thought gave insight into what happened, correct?
Yes.
And including in those was a copy of the script and the shot list, correct?
I believe there was paperwork that was photographed, but I don't believe it was collected.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pass up to the witness what it's marked as A3 and A11. Did you recognize these?
Yes.
And what are those?
It appears to be scene paperwork.
That you collected.
Yes.
And those are fair and accurate photographs?
Yes.
Yeah, offer them as evidence.
I don't believe that's an adequate foundation.
Oh my God.
What more do you want him to do?
But what we discussed at the bench, but I mean, obviously I defer to the court, but I'm relying on the conversation we had.
Well, all right, so they are conditionally admitted
Thank you.
pursuant to the discussion up at the bench.
So I'm going to now
Okay,
publish A3.
What on earth?
Um,
Like, he's
Can
clearly
you read
about
that
to
last
assert
sentence?
something, and prosecution really doesn't want him to.
Russ Colt cocked quietly now.
Oh,
No,
okay.
no,
Is it a
that's
page
over
from the
811.
script? And he's
let's see if this will allow me to zoom.
what, saying that the cocking the hammer for the close-up shot was written into the script, and that's why Baldwin did it? But again, why is he asking this witness
Read that, or does it not focus right?
about this? She wouldn't.
I apologize.
No, she's not from the set. She's a crime scene tech,
I'm going to pass it up to the witness. If it's not,
and I believe he's asking her about script direction.
Yeah, it's supposed to autofocus, so this is not my fault. Just so that's your investigation.
Yes, I'm not technologically incompetent.
Okay, permission to approach.
Hey, Court TV, men approach the witness, not the bench. Turn the sound back up.
Macro on hammer as thumb cocks it. And on line 6 is frontal slow push in on Rust, his hat down, motionless.
Yeah, that is a page from the
Thank you.
script.
And you found and photographed these documents in the church, in the vicinity of where Ms. Hutchins
So
fell,
there was
correct?
a copy of the
I
script
believe the first photograph,
in the church.
the first paper was, I don't recall where the second paper was.
That might have even been Helena Hutchins' copy
and if we
because
look
she
at
was lining up
states-
the shot.
21.
But
I'll
again,
have that up on the
this
screen
is
just for a moment.
this is a crime
When you
scene
collected
tech.
these documents, you thought they were important, correct?
When I photographed them, yes.
Sorry, I apologize. When you photographed them. And the reason you thought it was important is because you thought it reflected what would have happened in the scene, correct?
I understood that there was a mentioning of a firearm in the paperwork, which is why I thought it was important.
Right, because it's actually just because you thought to yourself at the time and that
Like,
it
she
actually
wasn't
described
there.
what he's doing, right?
I believe at the time, yes.
And you said to your fellow officers that you think it's important because it confirms Mr. Baldwin's statements, correct?
I don't recall stating that, but it could be something that I've stated.
And you indicated that you thought it was hers, meaning Ms. Hutchins' paperwork, correct?
Oh, that's right. It
I
was.
believe that one of those papers does have her name on it, which is why I thought it was hers.
Right? And the other paper that you already testified to, A3, was found around where she fell, correct?
Yes.
And it contains the shot list and the script for that day, correct?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know
Church and
exactly.
Foundation? Sorry.
Okay, prosecution, you got to stop. You got to stop now. The judge
So you
clearly
have the
said
Foundation?
he can do this. You need to stop.
That what you were looking
'Cause
at.
you just sound like an
was-
annoying
may have
biddy.
reflected things that were supposed to occur in the church.
Yes.
You also recovered Miss Hutchins' cell phone, correct?
Persnickety, you missed a
at a later
45-minute sidebar where
And that
they
was sent to
argued over
Byron
his
Friend
being able to do
In the
this.
investigation division to extract the cell phone results eventually, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Now, you tried to find video recording in the church, correct?
Yes.
But the video cameras for the scene in question did not record that day, so you were not able to find that. Fair?
They recorded a portion of that day. There was a recording that was recovered.
And you didn't find any live ammunition in the church.
Yes, there was one live round located inside the church.
There was, okay. And where was that found?
That was in Mr. Baldwin's holster.
Yeah,
Right,
you
so,
you
right,
you
the
should
bandolier
be.
that we were talking about before.
Yes.
Okay. And you have no reason to think that Mr. Baldwin had any idea that was there, right?
Correct.
At that scene, and at this time in the investigation.
Okay, so the defense
Um,
is Baldwin was
Detective Thomas was in
clueless
charge, correct?
and he was only doing what he was told.
So while you're now then leaving the church, and we're going to move on, okay? You have to figure out how ammunition works on a movie set, right?
Yes.
That wasn't something that you were familiar with before the incident in question, right?
Correct.
And you sort of became the subject matter expert on that topic, right?
Yes, I say so.
Right. I mean, you were
For
called
the sheriff's
into,
office.
for the sheriff's office, right? But also you'd be called into meetings with Corporal Hancock and the prosecutors and try to educate them on those topics. Isn't that fair?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, you weren't running the case, were you?
No.
But you were there to assist not only with the evidence, but to be a specialist on this sort of unique topic. Fair?
All right, I'm listening in, but I got to take.
And again, you said this on direct, but I think it got a little confusing perhaps. But there are never supposed to be live ammunition on a movie set.
Or I don't, because I answered and they didn't. But it's been calling for 3 days, so
Okay, go ahead. Yours is on
yay,
there.
whoever they are for not being there when I finally pick up.
You understood that there should never be live ammunition on a movie set, right?
Yes.
And the one
Oh,
type
God,
of
now the
ammunition
puppy-
that occurs on movie sets
The puppy
is
heard the
blanks,
beep of
and
the
those are
phone. Now he
ones that
thinks
just
somebody's
go
coming because he thinks it was my buzzer.
Okay,
Because
and I'm
usually when I
showing you
pick up and then
E12
hang
is
up
an
that
evidence,
fast, it's the
right? And
buzzer,
those have a crimped,
and that means
like a
people,
crimped top,
which means people to pet him.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
No,
opposed to
there's
dummy
no people.
rounds.
Come here.
Right. I'm showing you
Come here.
E11. That's in evidence, right?
Come here.
Which look
Yeah, up.
like
There we
real
go.
bullets,
Okay,
right?
okay, okay. There's no more up.
Um,
Okay, hi. He's on high
and there
alert.
were different types of dummy rounds.
There's
as I
supposed
think
to be
you said
people.
on direct.
Where are the people?
But
want
you
people.
can't tell necessarily
people to
whether
pet
a
me.
dummy round is a dummy
I want
round
people.
just by looking at it.
See?
Not
Look at
always,
my
no.
ears. I want people.
Some dummy rounds have holes in them,
Doggy.
right?
Where's my people? I heard the
Others
noise.
have their primers removed.
Yes.
Some of them do not
Look
have
at how
holes
cute
in
my
the
ears
side
are.
or their primers removed.
Correct.
Some of them
You
don't
lick your
make a
face
noise
on
when
here.
they're shaken.
Of course, 'cause they
Xanax
mold.
rounds.
Nice and clean.
And some dummy
Sorry, I don't
rounds
need to smell like doggy drool.
look exactly like live rounds.
Oh,
Correct?
kitty, please don't rub on my pants. I have to take a
And
picture
those
today.
look exactly like live ammunition.
Okay.
Correct?
Yes.
Good boy.
And those type of exact replica dummy rounds
Did good.
were on the set of Rust, right?
Did good.
Yes.
See you, persnickety.
And those were Seth Kenny's dummy rounds, right?
Yes.
And in terms of identifying dummy rounds by shaking
boy.
them, right, which is something you talked about on
Oh,
Some of
Thomas,
them
of
are
course
louder
you
than
want to
others,
rub on my
right?
legs when I'm all in
Yes.
nice, clean.
Some of them have
Freshly
one
laundered
BB,
clothes.
2 BBs in them, or 3 BBs in
Okay,
them.
I'm
Right?
sorry, you can't lick today, okay?
Um,
Mommy's trying to be really
Sometimes
clean.
if you shake a bullet, you
Smell
can hear the
good,
powder or
look
there's
nice for a
oxidation, you can hear
picture,
things inside
so I
the
can't
bullet
have you
that make it
licking all
break.
over.
Yes.
And depending on the setting of something,
Okay,
would
here.
impact the person's
Okay,
ability
you
to
go
hear
hold
it.
down your
Is that fair?
pillow
Yes.
and
So,
don't
like, if I
destroy the
showed
house
dummy
when I go
rounds
out.
right now in a courtroom in front of a
I am
microphone,
slightly worried that he will.
it would probably be, you would be able to hear it. Would you agree?
Yes.
But if people are all moving around,
He's not good at being left.
you don't know that everybody would be able to
Since
hear
I'm
it,
hoping I'm
okay?
only going to be gone a half hour, he should be
Not
okay.
everyone, no.
And some dummy rounds don't shake at all. Isn't that also true?
Yes.
The only way to determine definitively is to send them to the FBI and to take apart the dummy round to figure out what the powder is inside of it, right?
The powder inside of a dummy round?
Yeah, I'm
Or the
moving
ball
on.
bearings?
Kitty
Well, the ball
bee.
bearings versus the powder that could be in a live ammunition.
Yes,
right?
that would be the
It's
comparison.
not
yes.
currently
And so,
bothering you.
One of the questions that I'm going to ask you is there different grades of gunpowder used in blanks versus live rounds?
Oh, press out. I'll be right back.
And so, as you proceed in this case, you are then executing the prop truck search at the scene of Rust, right?
Yes.
So, about a week after the incident, approximately, you go back to the setting of Rust and you execute a search warrant on the truck that housed the prop cart that you found the shell casing on, right?
Yes.
And when you went to do that search warrant, it was light outside, right?
Correct.
And you were with your fellow officers, Hancock, Kano, Sergeant Zook was there, correct?
Yes.
And you had a good working relationship with all of these people, right?
Yes.
And Detective Hancock and Kano, signed off on what you collected as detectives involved in this, right?
Yes.
And Sergeant Zook, who was their supervisor, signed off as well. Fair?
Yes.
And there was a witness there that day that assisted law enforcement with the search of the prop truck, right?
Yes.
A man named Seth Kenny.
Correct.
And not only did he assist, he actually was the one that opened the safe, right?
Yes, he had the combination too.
Well, do you know how he got the combination?
He was the owner of the safe.
You sure about that?
That was my understanding.
You collected dozens of guns from the safe, right?
Yes.
And you understood that there were a dozen plus actors, extras, stuntmen that used firearms on the set of Rust.
Yes.
Just like we talked about with Mr. Ackles and his bandolier, right? A lot of these actors may have at one point or another, unbeknownst to them, God forbid, had live ammunition on them, right?
Yes.
And the prop truck, we can look at A13, was a little disorganized. I don't know if it's quite at the level of the cart, but it was a little disorganized, right?
Yes.
Okay, and we'll just show A14 for completeness. And inside the prop truck, there were boxes, right?
Yes.
Boxes of ammunition.
Correct.
And these boxes are sort of, a lot of them are the same shape, make, model, white box, right?
Yes.
And I'm just going to show you 816, which is a close-up. And do you notice one box that looks a little different than the other boxes?
Yes, there is.
And which box is that?
Okay, so we're at
The
the.
box in the center, instead of it being stamped, it has handwritten in blue marker, dummy rounds, 45.
So we have one of the
Right, and I'll just blow up.
makeup
that.
bags being
It's
used to
basically
carry ammo.
19, right?
Yes.
And you don't know who wrote that writing on it, do you?
Seth Kenny.
And if we could look at A22, can you tell us what that is?
Out of context, no, I can't.
Okay, well then we're going to look at A23.
Can you move it up? Thank you. This is the rounds that were inside of that box with the styrofoam insert that were removed.
Okay. And you see that they are Starline brass, nickel, dummy rounds, right?
Yes.
And again, the difference between a Starline brass nickel plated dummy round and a live round is effectively that one has powder inside. Right?
Yes.
And do you know where all the ones in this box went? The ones that are missing?
I do not.
So we're in the prop truck and you have Starline brass, you have nickel primer, but they're not live. Right?
Correct.
And you don't know when that box ended up getting to the prop truck, moved to the prop truck. You don't know any of that background, right? You don't know if somebody placed that box with the handwriting on it into that Mary Kay bag, do you?
No.
And on the prop truck that housed all the ammunition, was there any live ammunition on the prop truck?
No.
So I want to ask you something, Investigator Popple. Did that surprise you?
No, not necessarily.
Well, you've got all this, you know, you're finding.
You
these
may be
live
able to
rounds
hear a
all over the
kitty.
set, right?
Yes.
Sort of seem to be a little bit of everywhere without much cohesion between where you're finding them, right?
Yes.
And they're housed originally in the prop truck, right?
Yes.
And so you go a week later to the prop truck, which has all the ammunition, right?
Yes.
And there's not a single live round there,
The puppy.
right?
Correct.
Why did law enforcement wait a week to go to the prop truck?
The search warrant needed to be written. I'm not sure of why the time difference occurred exactly.
You, well, I mean, the search warrant for the church that we talked about on the 21st, you guys were able to do in one day, right? The same day that the incident happened, you did the search warrant on the church, right?
We did it the next day.
Well, you got the warrant on the 21st, you did it the 22nd. Is that
Correct.
fair?
Yes.
I apologize. So if you could do a search warrant in one day for one thing, why does it take like 7 days to do a search warrant for something else?
I do not know the circumstances of why. there
She's
was-
not the one who applied for
And
it.
so on direct examination, you pointed out that, and this is states 30. You said that these were the Seth Kenny dummies in the box, right?
Yes.
And you talked about that a bit on direct examination, right?
Correct.
And I think you were making a point that Seth Kenny's dummies like look a little bit different than the live ammunition found on set. So perhaps there was a way to distinguish them. Is that the import of your testimony?
Yes.
But if you look at the picture of the Seth Kenny box as it's being opened, right? How many rounds are in there?
So there are 17.
So then how do you explain why there's more rounds in your picture of those dummies taken out of the box?
If I can refer to my report to refresh my memory.
It's fine with me, though.
Okay, he may actually be onto something. Where did the extra bullets come from? Is that actually a photo of the bullets taken out of that tray? And again, where are the additional ones from? Did she commingle evidence?
It is right. Were you able to refresh your recollection?
Yes.
And do you have an explanation for that?
Yes. So I apologize. These
Puppy, I have a hairbrush
the
in my
photo
hand,
that
not a
picked up the
sandwich.
22 rounds were actually removed from a
And he
bandolier
goes
that
back
was
to
located
laying
inside of
down.
the prop truck.
Defense 826, right?
He's such a food motivated
That's
little
the
wolf.
exact number is the picture you showed the jury, right?
Yes.
Okay. And in fact, the real picture of the ammunition that comes out of Seth Kenny's box is this one, A27, right?
Yes.
And I saw you counting.
I just wanted to make sure the number of rounds.
Fair enough. No, I think that's a good way to that's how I figured it out. That's from the right one, right?
Yes.
And there's something important about this picture, isn't there?
Yes.
Doesn't that Seth Kenny round look exactly like the live M?
Under a camera flash, I suppose it could.
Well, I don't know about suppose it could. I mean, well, look at the shell casing, Exhibit 28.
Okay, I think he may be trying to get to,
27. You can go
and
back.
I'm extrapolating here. I could be wrong, but I think he may be
Don't you
trying to
think
get
they look an
to.
awful lot alike?
Well, even if Baldwin had
They look
checked,
similar, yes, but I can still
the
see
dummy
differences.
rounds look exactly
You're a trained investigator,
like live
right?
rounds, and not
Trained
all
crime
of
scene
them
tactics.
shake.
Even more than an
So
investigator.
even if he
crime scene
had
tech, right?
checked the gun
You have
himself,
your Nikon 700 flash in
He
your camera, right?
might not have
You have the
known that
opportunity
that's a
to
live
take this
bullet. He's
ammunition
not an
back to the
expert in
precinct,
bullets.
lay it out, and photograph it, right?
Yes.
You have no reason to think anybody on the set of Rust was able to do that, do you?
No.
You turned in your report in this investigation. Hancock signed off on it, correct?
My supervisor signed off on my report.
Sergeant Zook?
At the time, yes.
So we're still on the topic of the ammunition, and you and law enforcement were trying to figure out the source of the live ammunition, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
In
they.
fact, it was incumbent upon you to try to find the source, because if there were people sending
Yes,
live
puppy, you're
ammunition,
being very
movie
annoying.
sets,
He
that
knows
would be
I'm
very
going out
dangerous
because
to
he's
get
seen me
to.
packing my purse,
And
so he knows.
as you were going about your search, Seth Kenny actually walked into the precinct one day and gave you ammunition, right?
Yes.
Okay, you remember that, right?
I do.
That was. Did you think Mr. Kenny was being helpful?
I believe so, yes.
I mean, were you suspicious at all of that?
That was not my place to be suspicious of him. I hadn't had much interaction with him.
Yeah, I mean, it may not have been your place to, but I'm just asking you if after this point, Seth Kenny
He's not
comes knocking on the
an
precinct and says,
investigator.
"What's
Like,
around," whether or not that may
Asked and answered.
yeah,
I don't believe it was.
Overruled.
I'm just asking whether it's your place to be or not. I'm just asking when the man showed up and just presented ammunition to the precinct, did that make you suspicious at all?
No.
Well, let me ask you this.
is he actually going for one of the conspiracies involving Seth Kenny? Because he's wrapped up in a few of them. But
No, I wasn't surprised by that.
again, it's
Okay.
crazy internet.
And so
Puppy,
what he turned in,
I'm sorry, but you were being an
and I know you have
obnoxious
your
little
report
thing
there
today.
if you need to refresh, but he
I am
walks into
trying to
the precinct-
concentrate, so stop with your nudging.
And he gives you two different types of shell casings or ammunition, right? He gives you Starline brass. He gives you spent shell casings, right?
Yes.
And those were Starline brass, nickel primer, but they weren't live, right? They had been shot or they were spent shell casings, right?
If I can refer to my report to refresh. I don't recall if any of them were Starline brass.
If you turn to the last page,
Is there a specific item number that you're referring to?
item set, I think 215. You're going to be better at determining these reports than me.
Yes.
Okay. And he brought you, again, he also gave you live ammunition with nickel primers, but they weren't Starlight brass, right?
Yes.
Okay. So he just seems to have, he just missed sort of on what you were looking for, right?
Yes.
Because you were,
Yeah, objection to the form of question. She doesn't know what Seth Kinney's motives are.
Yeah.
No, I don't, I don't,
What he's
overruled.
Really?
I mean, you know that if Seth Kenny provided the live ammunition to the set, that's worse for Seth Kenny, right?
It's worse for whoever provided it. Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
But as members of law enforcement, you all know that the person who provided that would have a motive to not be found. True.
Yes.
So you headed to execute a search warrant at Seth Kenny's prop house, right?
Yes.
And a judge signed off on that search warrant, correct?
Yes.
Because you had probable cause to believe that there was live ammunition that matched the ammunition that killed Miss Hutchins, right?
Yes.
And this was you and again, Detective Hancock and Sergeant Zook, right?
Yes.
And yeah, I wanted to ask you, how come you executed the search warrant at night?
I don't recall.
And I wanted to ask you, how come
That is kind of a fair question because it
Detective
is
Connell was
weird.
outside?
I don't believe that Detective Kano was there the entirety of the search warrant.
So, well, while he was there, you know, do you know why? Do you have any information as to why he didn't come inside?
I do not.
Before you went on the search, you discussed it with Detective Hancock, correct?
Yes.
And just like the truck we talked about, you all had done nothing to secure this prop house while before you got the search warrant, correct?
Yes, which is a massive
And
oversight.
tell the jury, how long did you wait to execute the search warrant at the prop house?
I don't recall.
Well, on direct examination, you knew the dates right away. Don't you remember? You nailed it.
Oh,
10/27, November 30th. Right?
I apologize. I thought you were asking from when it was written to when it was executed.
Oh no, I apologize. Yes.
We executed the search warrant on November 30th.
Okay, so that was a month and a week, at least, right after the incident in question.
Yes.
And just like the truck, you're executing the search warrant, and who was there to help you?
Seth Kenny.
And your purpose was to find the matching ammunition, correct?
Our purpose was to locate any 45 caliber live ammunition.
Well, sure, but the ultimate investigation that you all were conducting was to try to solve the open question of how the lethal round got on the movie set, right?
Yes.
And you talked a little bit about this when we talked about the prop cart, how the disorganization of it could lead to commingling, right?
Yes.
How was the organization of the prop house?
Oh, it was
Some things were
abysmal.
organized and some were not.
Well, if you can give us a sense, did you find it to be more
Oh,
organized?
come on.
than
We've seen the
cart?
pictures. The place was a
Less
hot
organized
mess.
than the cart?
I would say they were probably about
Again,
equal.
Seth Kenny did get off lucky here.
And you knew.
Him and David Halls absolutely got
that a
off
dummy round can be
completely
turned
lucky.
into a
Seth
live
Kenny wasn't
round,
even
and a live
properly
round can be
investigated,
turned
and he
into a
should have
dummy round,
been.
correct?
Yes.
Huge
So a person
oversight.
with
He
spent
should
shell
have
casings
been.
Or dummies, they could reuse them, correct?
Yes.
That would be economically efficient.
Yes.
Yes, and he
you
was
knew,
reloading
as you
dummies. That
entered
was made
this
clear.
search, that some of the ammunition on the set of Rust definitely came from Seth Kenny, right?
Yes,
He admitted that, right?
correct.
There were invoices he didn't have much of a choice, correct?
Yes,
And you were also looking for tools that could be used to manufacture dummies and live ammunition.
Which were
correct?
there, but the previous defense didn't seem
And
to
you
know
were also
that.
looking for a green ammo can, correct?
yes,
You know, the white boxes that we keep looking at are, they look like each other, right?
correct.
A green ammo can is a more unique item, fair?
Yes.
So why don't you tell the jury why you were looking for a green ammo can?
I don't recall specifically, other than at some point in time it had housed live rounds.
And law enforcement had that information at the time of going to a judge to get the search warrant, and very much at the time that they were executing the warrant, right?
Yes.
And I don't want to belabor the white box conversation too much, but
Yes, you do.
other than, you have to find it too, on the white boxes that you found at the set, and at the white boxes that you saw a lot of at Seth Kenny's, there were these initials in the middle of the white box. It said JS. Right? I'll just show you A2. Yeah. Right, that you found at the scene, correct?
Yes.
And if we look inside of Seth Kenny's prop house, A18, you see very similar font and signage, correct?
Yes.
And as you continue on in your search, you understood Seth Kenny was a person of interest, correct?
Yes.
And this was an important moment in the case, correct?
Yes.
And you even found out that the day before Seth Kenny provided the dummies to Rust, he had in his possession live Starline brass nickel primer from 1883, correct?
I don't recall it being the day before, or having that information personally.
Well, so let's leave the day before right now. You knew and understood that Seth Kenny had recently been in possession of Starline brass nickel primer live, correct?
I don't know that it was that specific, just that he was in possession of live ammunition in a recent point.
Now, when you testified on direct examination, you told the jury about how you found some live ammo at the prop house, right?
Yes.
And how you took that live ammo and sent it to the FBI, right?
Yes.
And you sent the live ammo from the set of Rust to the FBI, right?
Yes.
And you're not an FBI agent, but what you told the jury was that when you compared the powder from the set of Rust's ammunition to Seth Kenny's live ammunition, they didn't look the same, right?
Correct.
And you testified previously. Well, let me just ask you, did you take all of the 45 live ammunition from PDQ into evidence?
Yes.
And did you search every single box inside of Seth Kenny's prop house?
Yes.
And because you did that, according what is that? Did I do something? Or it just goes to sleep. Talking too much. And because you've told this jury now that you found every 45 live ammo there, correct?
Yes.
And that you searched every single box, correct?
Yes.
What you're telling this jury is they can be sure that if there was a live round on there that matched the set of Rust, you would have found it, right?
Yes.
Let's take a look at A19. Is that one of the rooms inside of the prop house?
Yes.
You see those boxes packed all the way to the ceiling?
Yes.
Did you all have a ladder or anything when you guys were searching?
No,
Okay. So we agree that you didn't search the boxes at the top?
I believe they were taken down or at least looked into. It was not just myself searching.
Right, well, we talked about it. It was, Kana was outside. It was you and Hancock and Zook, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, tell the jury.
It would
I mean,
take
did
them
you dig
days
up
to go through every round in a place
every
like that.
single one of
So
those boxes?
I'm sorry, the police are
We
incorrect to be
searched
asserting
the entirety of the property.
that,
What
yes,
do you
we
mean when you
looked
say
at
you
every
searched the
single
entire
box, every single round,
Meaning,
because
if a box is
the
open
fact is they
and
didn't,
it is clear that there's no
because
ammunition
it would have
in
taken days.
meaning if I open a box and it's all clothing and I look at the bottom of the box and it's all clothing, then we're not going to dump the box out on the floor and continue to shake it until rounds that aren't in there fall out.
But okay, sure. Were there any boxes like that?
There
Clothing?
were a multitude of boxes.
Got it. Got it. So, are you telling this jury that you're on your oath that you searched every single box in this room? That's just all I want to know.
Not me personally. Our team reasonably searched
Ooh, she's
the warehouse.
out of line
Okay, and
here.
I think
Don't
you're getting
speak for
close to
other
reason-
people.
When you say reasonably searched, what
Yeah.
do you mean by that?
That's the correct answer.
I mean, how would you approach
He wants them
searching
to
this kind of
say
area?
Well, I can tell you that law enforcement.
that
I've done the movies.
no, we didn't go through every single box.
I'll move on.
We didn't go through every box of rounds and make sure there were no other
Why
mixed
don't
up
you tell me
boxes
that?
or no
What's
other
a
live
grid search?
rounds, because they didn't.
A grid search is usually conducted outside, where you
Like,
would.
this is where the
reasonably
police dropped the
set up
ball. They didn't
in a way
investigate
that you
Kenny the way
grid
they
an
should have.
area And then
I mean, searching the
search
place
each
a month
section on
later,
that
that's
grid.
almost useless.
Okay, and well, why don't you tell me what would have been, if you wanted to be certain, the best way to search this room if you had unlimited resources and time?
Yeah.
I believe that when
See,
we
that's the
searched this
thing.
room, we divided
We didn't have 4
the
days to
room
break this
in
place
order for
down.
it to be searched.
I didn't have
Just
50
like-
guys with me.
Meaning, myself took one section, Sergeant Zook took another section, Detective Hancock took another section.
Are you certain of that, or are you best estimate that that's what your memory tells you?
I do not recall exactly how the room was searched.
Okay, and then let's say you open up a box with ammunition. How would you search an individual box?
It would depend on the box.
So tell me.
If we open a box and it's all 38s, we're not looking for 38s at that time, we're looking for 45s.
Okay. And so if you opened up a box and it was commingled rounds, how would you do it?
We would have to go through those rounds individually.
Right, and there were boxes like that here, right?
There were a few, yes.
And how many rooms were there inside of this location that had lots of boxes in them?
There was the back room that we see here. There was a front room that didn't have many boxes, and then a side room that had nicely organized boxes.
And what about the bathroom? Aren't there boxes and ammunition in the bathroom?
There were boxes in the bathroom, yes.
So 4 rooms, right?
Yes.
3 of you, 4 rooms, right?
Yes.
820. What are we looking at here, Investigator Papa?
This was a table that was located in the side room.
Okay. And what do you notice? I don't know why that was there. What do you notice on this? It's probably because of me. What do you notice on this table of? What's on this table? What is this?
A lot of stuff.
There were plastic bags, tools, cleaning products, tape.
Okay. And as we talked about before, the search warrant told you to look for tools, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Detective Hancock spent some time in this room during the search, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
And do you know what all these tools are? Are you familiarity with these tools?
I'm not. No.
Okay. You don't know what they can be done. You don't know how they can be used with either firearms or ammunition, do you?
No.
Okay. So tell the members of the jury which of these tools you seized.
We did not take any tools from the warehouse.
When you were searching this area, did you have a schematic or a floor plan?
No, I don't believe so.
Did you go one room at a time, or did you split up?
I don't recall.
Was there a predetermined plan of how to search this and to confirm that there were no further live bullets?
The predetermined plan was that I went in myself first and did overall photographs of everything in place, and then we conducted the search.
Did you do those letters like we saw in the prop truck so you could keep track of everything? Remember when we were looking in the church that there were those letters up so that you could sort of keep track and make sure you got everything? Did you use those letters?
No, I did not.
And of course, Seth Kenny was there and being helpful again, right?
Yes.
He told you that there were no 45 long Colts there and offered to show you the dummy rounds at one point. You remember that?
I don't recall that.
Do you remember him saying, I bet you $1,000 there's no 45 long Colts in there?
I do recall that, yes.
Okay. And did he win the bet?
He did not.
He lost the bet. So he tells you that, and law enforcement continues, and you look in the bathroom, and you found him, right?
Yes.
Let me ask you something. At any point, did you become suspicious of Seth Kenny?
No.
A21. You were able to find this container that says live ammo on it, right?
Yes.
And that was helpful to whoever wrote that to show you where the live ammo was, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the reasons you looked in that bin. Somebody labeled it live, right?
Well, we were looking in all of those bins, yes.
Every single,
I believe there was camera equipment stacked on top of it.
right, and
And when they're opened and you see that it's camera equipment, we close it back up and went to the box on the bottom that stated there was live ammo.
Conditioned.
doesn't this handwriting and label look kind of like that dummy round label we saw on the box that had that round you and I looked at? States 19.
Yes, it is similar, yes.
And that box that had the live rounds in it, there were a couple things that you found at PDQ. This handwriting is getting worse,
It certainly is.
right? At PDQ, you found, and that's the prop house. the name
That's
of the
my
prop house,
lunch.
right?
I'll be right
Yes.
back.
Okay.
Sorry.
You found.
I know we have all this dead time. There's finally something happening, and I'm up and down. But
Starline
such
brass
is life on a
live.
moment.
No nickel, and you found Starline. You found nickel primer lives. No Starline brass, right?
Correct.
Every time you were with Seth Kenny, you got close to finding something that matched the scene, Starline brass, nickel primer live, but it was always one off, wasn't it?
Yes.
And as you continued on your search, you found the green ammo can, right?
Yes.
And again, it was helpfully labeled, right?
Yes, I believe it was behind that box. Like you weren't able to obviously see it.
I see. But it also had a helpful label on it, didn't it?
Yes.
It said empty, right?
Yes.
And it looks a lot like the handwriting in States 19 and the helpful handwriting at A21 that says live, right?
Yes.
And it was taking a long time to go through those boxes, wasn't it?
Yes.
And Detective Hancock was wearing her lapel camera, right?
I believe so, yes.
Have you reviewed that camera?
I have not.
You remember you and Detective, you said to Detective Hancock, you know, this is taking a long time. We really need a spa day.
Objection relevance?
What's relevant?
The-
What's
the-
relevant?
the relevance
Does it
is
have
that
any
it's-
more tendency to,
Sure.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
Okay. Did you and Detective Hancock start joking around that it was going to take too long to search every box?
I don't recall that.
Do you deny it?
No.
And there are times in this search where you pick up a box and you just shake the whole box, right?
I don't recall that.
Can we play that video?
Okay, I'm back. I'm just off cam for a minute.
It doesn't matter. It's just a video. So I say that.
It does matter because she said she doesn't recall.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Do you deny you in parts of your search just picking up a box and shaking it to see if it shook or not? Do you deny that?
No.
And so, but if you shook an entire box to see if it had a rattle in it, you wouldn't be able to be sure whether or not every single live round, it was all live rounds or a commingled group, correct?
Correct.
In fact, that's the entire basis of the case of what you believe the armor agent have done. Commingled, live, and dummies, right?
Yes.
And yet at the search being conducted to find the source of the lethal round, law enforcement is doing the very same thing that you're complaining about the armor doing on the set, right?
Yes, law enforcement screwed up. They were unprepared. They didn't know what they were doing.
That search.
They didn't know how to investigate
You
this
are not,
properly.
as you sit here, sure you got every live round, are you?
No.
And actually, if you look at the boxes inside of that location, you didn't even search half of them.
So the defense seems to be going for partially dispute all the evidence, discredit
I don't
everybody,
recall.
and the other side of their strategy is it was everybody else's fault except Alec
So
Baldwin.
then why on direct examination, if you do not recall, did the prosecutor ask you and you tell this jury that you were confirming that you searched and found every single live round? Why did you testify to that?
I found what I believe to be all the live rounds at the warehouse.
But that's not what you said. What you said was that you found every live round, right?
I don't recall the exact words that I stated.
Well, you certainly said that you searched every single box just 10 minutes ago in front of this jury, right?
I believe that a reasonable search was conducted of the warehouse.
An investigator, I understand.
This guy's moving the
um,
needle back towards genius.
You were prepped before you testified today, correct?
I spoke with the prosecution before I testified yesterday.
Okay. And the jury heard something about
Your food is way too
pre-trial
hot to
interviews,
eat.
where you're interviewed and the defense can be there to watch.
Needs to cool down significantly.
But every time you talk to the prosecutors, defense is not there, correct?
Correct.
In fact, the vast majority. of the
Just to
time,
keep everyone
you
updated,
speak
I do have to
the
jet in about an hour 20.
Correct?
Correct.
In fact, you and I had never met before today, or yesterday.
Hopefully, I will not be gone long and I will be able to. They should be breaking for lunch right about when I have to dash. So hopefully, I will be
So-
gone and back during the lunch break. If
You
they do
just
come
said
back before I get back,
when you originally said
I'll just catch up when we
that
get back
you
because I'm
searched
sure there will
every
be
box,
lengthy sidebars to
that
skip over that
itself
will
is not
get us
accurate,
caught up
correct?
in no time.
Correct.
Okay. So now what you're saying is that you did a reasonable search, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the other thing that the search warrant asked you to take was the cameras and the camera equipment, the surveillance footage from PDQ, right?
I don't recall that.
Okay, I'm going to pass up the warrant to refresh your recollection. Well, do you recall that there was camera equipment there?
There was lots of camera equipment inside of the warehouse.
In fact, you remember Seth Kenny showed you the camera equipment, right?
I don't recall exactly.
Okay, I'm just going to mark this as defense Z and just approach.
Did Seth Kenny also rent camera equipment? Why did he have a bunch of camera equipment? And why is that relevant? Unless some of it was on the set and then was returned to him.
Are you gonna mark that? Well, or she's gonna identify it and then you're gonna.
Does that refresh your recollection about the?
No, it doesn't.
I'm going to pass you the warrant and ask you, this is DX23, if this refreshes your recollection of if you were supposed to.
What?
Yes, Your Honor, DX23. Oh.
I'm sorry.
I need to know.
No, we need to refresh.
It's just a refresh. I can make it DX.
So,
Any of it.
so why are we marking it?
Stop
Why are we marking it?
talking in the middle of the room when there's an objection.
Yeah, not seeking to introduce this. I'm just simply asking, does this refresh your recollection that the warrant commanded you to take the video footage? Number 6.
She can refresh her memory without being directed.
Of surveillance.
Prosecution,
footage.
sit
Yes.
down.
Okay. And so, when you tell the jury, did you take the surveillance footage?
No,
And why not?
You didn't take the surveillance footage, even though that footage could have shown when people came and left the prop house, correct?
I don't recall if there was surveillance footage.
And the photograph of Mr. Kenny showing the surveillance footage didn't refresh your memory?
No, because I'm standing in the foreground of that photo.
Okay, well, tell the members of the jury what you did to search for surveillance videos that satisfied you that you had complied with the warrant's order. Tell the jury.
I don't recall looking for surveillance footage.
Okay, thank you for that answer. Because you didn't, right?
I don't recall.
But if you did, it would be on the lapel cameras of Detective Hancock and Sergeant Sook, right?
Yes.
And so if it's
Okay, so
not
they
on the
failed to
lapel
cover
camera
every
of
aspect of the
Detective
warrant.
Hancock and Sergeant Sook, you would agree with me it didn't happen, right?
Not precisely. They don't follow me around the entire time, and I don't wear a lapel, so it could have not been captured.
But you're not telling this jury that you looked for it, right?
I'm saying that I don't recall looking for it.
And if you had taken that footage, if any there were, right, you agree with me that it would have shown when people were coming and going from the prop house, potentially, correct?
That's a possibility, yes.
It's a possibility you could have seen when the ammo can got there, right?
Possibly, yes.
You could have seen Sarah Zachary picking up the ammunition, correct?
Possibly, yes.
You could have seen Seth Kenny disposing of ammunition in the 40 days between when the incident happened and when you arrived, correct?
Possibly, yes.
And there's one other thing that it would have shown, isn't there?
I don't know.
Well, it would have shown whether or not you all really searched the place, wouldn't it?
Possibly, yes.
And so you didn't take it. You did not vouch for any of the surveillance footage.
I do not recall looking for the surveillance footage.
Well, again, I know that answer, but you know what you vouchered in this case, correct?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
You didn't take into your custody and add to the evidence any surveillance footage, correct?
No.
And you never spoke to any witnesses, you yourself, about what you found at PDQ later, did you?
No.
And you testified on direct examination that you did collect DNA, phones, prints, things like that in this case, right?
Yes.
And you got the armorer, the first assistant director, Dave Halls, Sarah Zachary, and Alec Baldwin's phones, right?
I did not.
Okay,
know.
please don't dox anyone again.
I would have to refer to my report. I don't believe I collected all of those things.
Okay. What about DNA extractions?
I did collect DNA swabs from certain individuals, yes.
Okay. Including Hannah Gutierrez Reed, Dave Halls, Sarah Zachary, Alec Baldwin?
Not Alec Baldwin, but the rest.
Okay. And what about prints? Fingerprints?
Yes,
From Hannah Gutierrez Reed, Dave Halls, Sarah Zachary?
yes.
Did you take the cell phone of Seth Kennedy?
I don't believe so, no.
Did you take the prints of Seth Kennedy?
No.
Did you take the DNA of Seth Kennedy?
No.
Everything that you did take into your custody, in law enforcement's custody in this case, is in your supplemental report. Is that fair?
Yes,
And most importantly of all, it's your testimony you never were able to discover the source of the live ammunition, correct?
I don't believe that's in my supplemental report. I'm not sure how you're phrasing that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. I'm asking you. When we started, we were talking about solving this question of how a live round got in a movie set. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm asking you, trying to solve that question, did you ever solve it?
I do not have any physical evidence to show where the live rounds originated from.
And I was asking you questions earlier about how come the search happened at night, right?
Yes.
Do you remember?
I don't recall.
Okay. Why Detective Kano stood outside?
I don't recall.
Isn't the truth that you were just trying to get this over with so that the prosecutors could focus on Alec Baldwin?
Yep. He's definitely going for prosecutorial misconduct.
You personally believe
Prosecution
Alec Baldwin committed no crime.
fixated
Isn't that
on-
the truth?
No.
I'm sorry, do you have her tweeting that or something to prove that? Also, what is her opinion of
do
his
that.
guilt?
I'm gonna strike that, question, okay?
Yeah,
I'm gonna strike the question, you're gonna disregard it, okay, and the answer.
what does her opinion of his
the-
guilt matter?
There is zero evidence in this case that Alec Baldwin brought a live round onto set, correct?
Correct.
There is zero
Fair.
evidence in this case that Alec Baldwin loaded
This guy grew up watching too
that
much
live
Law and
round into
Order.
that gun, right?
Correct.
And after this, and you turn to the next chapter of this case, is when the order came from you all, meaning you, the prosecutors, Detective Hancock, to order the testing on the firearm, right?
I'm sorry. Can you
Sure.
repeat that?
Wasn't a good question. As this case moved forward, after what we just discussed, you, Detective Hancock and the prosecutors, made the request to the FBI to order the accidental discharge test, right?
I don't recall when that request was made exactly.
Well, forget exactly.
Okay,
when it was
are you
made.
claiming
Do
that
have
it's not a
any
real
genuine
test, that they
recollection?
made it up?
I don't.
Okay. Are you testifying that you don't know whether it was after the PDQ search?
I don't recall.
And at that time, when that test was ordered, you knew that Mr. Baldwin had told you that he had just pulled the hammer of the gun and not the trigger, correct?
I don't recall.
Okay. I'm going to refresh your recollection. I need to find it.
Yeah,
You're
remember
all
when I
doing
said he
that.
was leaning close to
You did
genius?
assist in
I'm
the,
going back the other way.
in the taking of the firearm withdrawal. You were involved in the requests coming from the team, right? I'm referring to you, the prosecutor, Detective Hancock, right? You understand when I say team, what I mean?
Yes.
You were involved in the request from the team to the FBI about what tests to order throughout this case. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And these were very much group decisions that you made. Of what you would test, fair?
Yes.
And everywhere in this case that you went, Detective Hancock went, right?
Yes.
So when you were at the church, the day that it happened, Detective Hancock was there, right?
Yes.
And then, when you were at the truck search, she was there, right?
Yes.
In the precinct with Seth Kennedy, she was there, right?
Yes.
At the PDQ search, she was there, right?
Yes.
And every time something happened in this case, you all would meet with the prosecutors to keep them updated, correct?
Occasionally, yes.
Well, when you say occasionally, investigate possible. What do you mean by occasionally?
I mean that I was not always in direct contact with them about every single thing that would occur.
I'm going to approach and show the witness. Yeah, she has a copy.
Well, she doesn't know.
You're looking at, I don't know what line you're looking at, you told me I have a copy of the previous transcript.
It is? Again,
The prosecution had a notion this was coming. That may explain her attitude yesterday and today.
Page 3, line 1.
Yeah, she got him.
Same objection, Your Honor. Ms. Popple is not Ms. Popple is not in this transcript.
She
Well,
was there.
he's what are you doing? Asking her to refresh her memory?
She was there. I'm asking if it refreshes her recollection.
All right. Overruled.
Does that refresh your recollection about what Mr. Baldwin told you at the scene?
Not particularly.
Okay. Would it be helpful if you saw the video from the lapel camera of you and Mr. Baldwin at the scene and listened to it? Would that be helpful?
No.
That wouldn't be helpful to you, Investigator Bob?
I'm not denying that these statements were made, but I do not recall all of the information that was being stated at that time.
I understand that, but you're here to do your best, right?
Yes.
And you want to be fair to Mr. Baldwin, right?
Yes.
So you don't know that if I show you the video of you at the scene, it won't refresh your recollection?
He really wants to play this video. Just enter it into evidence and play it. I'm guessing the prosecution will say lacks foundation. Let's hope this isn't another 45 minutes, because I'm getting short on time.
Investigator Popple, are you willing to watch the body worn camera of the lapel from 1021 to refresh your recollection at a break?
Yes.
And you would agree with me, it may refresh your recollection, true?
Yes.
And whatever information you had from Mr. Baldwin at the time, well, let me ask you this. Withdrawn. Did you tell Mr. Baldwin, don't worry, we're going to find the source of the live ammunition, or words to that effect?
I don't recall stating that.
You don't deny it, though, do you?
No.
You and the team end up ordering the accidental discharge test, I think you call it the drop test, on the firearm in question, right?
Yes.
And when you all ordered that test, the FBI told you that this test may very well destroy the gun, right?
I don't recall that.
Okay, well, let's, I can't put anything on her screen. I'm going to show you an email in a minute. But you do agree with me that you were involved in the team's decision to send that firearm off to the FBI for that testing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That firearm that you told me earlier in my examination was something that you were entrusted to keep track of and to protect, right?
Yes.
A piece of evidence that you knew was critical in this case, correct?
Yes.
And the FBI told you in no uncertain terms that if they do this test on the firearm, it would alter the condition of the firearm, correct?
I don't recall that.
Okay. We're going to pass up an email to you because I can't show you on the screen.
Had to drip.
We can show you on the screen, apparently. I understand.
Is there a reason you can't just walk up and
Well, I-
You can find it. You can look at it too. So just come up here before,
Oh, I swear the judge is like
Yeah.
ready to snap.
I'm just going to pass up.
Okay, but I need to look.
It's just, you know,
Hello, Mr. I Want Food. All right, one French fry won't hurt you. It's only because I have to leave him for a little bit, and he gets very anxious when I leave. But he's generally good for 2 hours before he turns into the Tasmanian devil
Yes.
and starts destroying everything in sight. I'm hoping I will not be gone that long.
What's the portion that you expect to refresh your memory?
She's on the email.
Yeah, but what is the portion of the email that you expect to request to refresh your memory?
You
Okay,
all want to
turn-
be on the
Yeah,
recording
get
for this?
off
Let's just,
the mic.
Point out to me how this
well,
is supposed to
first of all,
Get off mic.
if she can look at the whole document and see if it refreshes her memory, okay?
exactly what I
Move on.
Yeah, move on. This witness is not supposed to take the entire morning.
You see your email address on that email?
Yes, I do.
Let her see if she can refresh her
Oh,
memory.
of course, I just wanted to point out.
Okay.
Oh my god! The two of them freaking sniping. And yet also the thought get a room popped into my head. Sleepy doggy with the waggly tail. Yes. Your tail could power a speedboat, couldn't it? Yes. You're looking at me. Rub my belly. Rub my belly. Rub my belly. I'm a doggy. Rub my belly. Rub my belly. Belly, 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 belly. Just on my belly. He's better at the cat at getting the concept that he has to be close enough for me to reach him.
Does that refresh?
That
your
or the cat just
recollection?
thinks I should come to him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it is true, right? You're on this email, correct?
Yes.
And on April 21st, 2022, which is after the search of the prop house, you and the team sent the firearm for testing at the FBI, correct?
Yes.
You can have my copy. I'll take yours. Then.
Hang on. You need to approach. May we approach?
Yes.
Okay, we have more serious contention over whatever is going on here. Like, I really hope this isn't all just for the sake of saying, yes, I told Alec Baldwin we would find the source of the live rounds. No, we ultimately did not definitively find the source of the live rounds. Because what does that get you? Like, there has been an undertone to the defense of, like, feel sorry for Alec Baldwin. That's what I think his, like, nobody mentioned Alec Baldwin to you. Nobody was acting as if he had intent. People walked up to him and shook his hand after the shooting. People were concerned about him, weren't they? Which, yeah, of course they were. Like, nobody is a monster here. And nobody is claiming that he did this on purpose. So yeah, they were concerned about him as well afterwards. Like, he even is on the video. Somebody said, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "No, I'm not okay." And props to him for being honest. No, you're definitely not okay. He was holding a gun that shot and killed someone and shot somebody else. Though, granted, at that moment, all he knew was that the gun had gone off and that 2 people had been hit. He did not know that Helena Hutchins was going to die. He didn't know it was a live round. they were in that moment, they didn't know what the hell happened, so he's probably just very, very rattled. But obviously they had had a catastrophic, event. They had a serious injury. Something had gone horrifically wrong. So yeah, I'd be concerned about Baldwin. I'd be concerned about Jensen Eccles. I'd be concerned about everyone else that was in that church, the sound guy, the grips, if Wardrobe was in there, whoever was in that church, I'm concerned about them. Because they all just saw something horrible.
I'm going to ask the court reporter to read back the exact same question.
And on April 21st, 2022. Oh, I'm so sorry. And on April 21st, 2022, which is after the search of the prop house, you and the team sent the firearm for testing at the FBI, correct? Yes.
And that was truthful testimony and accurate testimony that you just gave, correct?
Yes.
And at the time that you sent it to the FBI for accidental discharge testing, which I believe you discussed on your direct examination, didn't you?
Yes.
So at the time you did that, you knew that the testing would cause this firearm.
Sorry.
At the time that this testing was ordered, you knew that the firearm would no longer be in the same physical condition you recovered it in, correct? Let's take a break. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take our lunch break.
Oh,
Please don't talk among yourselves or anyone else about the evidence received here in court, and please don't come back until 2 o'clock. Okay? 2.
okay, because I wasn't sure I heard correctly, but he did ask her if she was willing to watch the video during a break
All right,
to refresh her memory, which apparently she was willing to do. I'm trying to get my earbuds to fit in the flippin' case so they'll be charged when I go out. That's why I got them. It doesn't want to fit in the bleeding case. But we're on lunch. It is likely I have to go out before they will get back. Though it's quite probable that I will still get back before they start because they're not going to be on time. They are taking an hour 10 for their lunch, so they're taking an extended lunch break. Or no, wait, did she say 2 o'clock? That's 4 o'clock my time. I'll definitely be back by then. Wait, I want to hear that again.
Okay? 2.
Yeah, let's be abundantly clear because she said 2, and so that would be actually a 2-hour lunch break. Yeah, because unless I had my time zone off, which I don't think I do. I'm just gonna jump in on somebody else's
time that this testing was
feed and just see.
You knew.
Yeah, till 2 p.m. Mountain Time.
Would no longer be in the same physical condition you recovered it in, correct?
Is 4 o'clock. Okay, so I will definitely be back in time.
Take our lunch break.
We are taking an extremely extended lunch break.
Or anyone else about the evidence.
Okay, so the grand summary of this morning is sidebars. They did get through more than 3 questions. Yay. But I think they had less than 20 the entire morning. Like, this is such a shit show right now. We're over the 2-hour mark. I can curse. This is ridiculous. Again, my needle on the defense is going between genius to idiot, but I'm definitely leaning more towards idiot. He clearly has a strategy. Clearly, he has things he wants this witness to say so desperately. He wants her to admit to things because he's going for prosecutorial misconduct. He's going for everyone involved was incompetent. He's going for the police didn't really do their job, did they? I saw it yesterday, but I didn't see it. I'm very much seeing the O.J. Simpson defense strategy here. And hey, it worked there. It definitely could work here. I've said from the beginning, I don't think Baldwin's going to be convicted. I just don't. And nothing I've seen has changed my mind yet. But we will see. I will be back, I will be back before the court is this afternoon. I can't see what I have to do taking anywhere near that long. If it does, expect to see me screaming into my Discord. But we will be back in the afternoon. Hope y'all had a great morning. Have a great lunch. Take care of you. Stay cool wherever you are. And love on a fur baby. I've been Insane Lane. See you this afternoon.